Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining me tonight. My guest in the basement, Westchester County Legislator Christopher Johnson, District 16. He will be joining me tonight, running for re-election. Good evening, good evening. Good evening, folks. Like I said, tonight's guest, a special guest, I'm excited to talk to him, Christopher Johnson, Westchester County Legislator, District 16. He's running for re-election. So I wanted to talk to him about what he has done, what he's been doing, what he wants to continue doing once he's re-elected. So, ladies and gentlemen, Christopher Johnson. Hey, Chris, good evening.
Good evening. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm just sweating a little bit because, I was hoping that we were going to do this tonight. I get a little anxiety, but you're here, and I appreciate it. I know you guys are very busy, very busy.
Sweat. I wait till the last minute, right?
Well, you got me perspiring. I wasn't actually stepping out the house, so I didn't put any deodorant on. But thank God you're not actually next to me. But how you doing this evening, Chris?
I'm doing well, thank you. Doing all right. Trying to stay cool. The weather's, not sure what it wants to do, whether it wants to be hot or cold, but we're making it happen.
You're right about that. Actually, I went out the last night maybe, and it was a little cold. I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, the past few days we've had a heat wave, and here we go. But I'm okay with it. I like the weather. I don't like the heat wave. But anyway, so Chris Johnson, like I said, Westchester County Legislator, District 16, you're running for re-election, right? Yes. We have the primaries coming up June 22nd. So I wanted to speak with you. You're a very interesting guy. You've done a lot. You've been in the community for a very long time. You've been helping the community, doing things for your constituents for a very long time, right? And I don't think a lot of people know exactly where you started, but you started in politics and you've been doing your thing. And I remember even you back in the day when I lived on Riverdale, right? So that was kind of, not to age you, not saying that you're a young guy. You're a very young guy.
Gray's right here. Tell the story.
I got a few too, and that's what happens when you get married. So, but I did want to start just a little brief, history or background of Christopher Johnson and where you began your political career.
Sounds good to me. So, I went to Long Island University CW Post for undergrad. And after I graduated, I figured with my bachelor's in political science, I said I needed to do something. I wanted to use it in the best way possible. And I met then County Legislator Andrea Stewart Cousins, who was running for New York State Senate 2006. Met her at an event and started working on her campaign. It was a successful campaign. She beat the incumbent, then Senator Nick Spano, and she took office. And soon after she took office, she asked me to join her team. Spent time in her office and moved up from community liaison, where I really got to know and understand Yonkers because I was originally from the Bronx at that point, but moved here while working for her because I really felt a special connection with the city. And then while working in her office, I moved up to Deputy Chief of Staff, became her number 2. And then in 2011, I ran for city council and to represent District 1 after Pat McDowell. And I spent 6 years on the city council fighting for, education for our children, fighting for affordable housing to be built throughout the city. And in 2017, I got an opportunity to run for county legislature when Ken Jenkins, then county legislator, he followed behind Senator Stewart Cousins in the county, and then I got the opportunity to follow behind him, and I won a primary in 2017. And now it's been 3.5 years doing the work at the county level.
Wow. It's very impressive. You know what I like about you and everything that you've mentioned. You've worked your way up, right? You're real. This has really been a career, a lifelong career for you. Politics, it seems only. You came out straight out of college and started working with Andrea Stewart Cousins. So you are a true, advocate, I believe, right? This is what you want to do. All right. It's not an opportunity that you may have. You have your side businesses, and not to knock anyone who does. But I only want to make the point that this is what you do, right? Christopher Johnson, County Legislator Christopher Johnson, this is what he does. He knows the business. He's been in the business since he got out of college, and he's worked his way up. You worked behind Andrew Stewart Cousin, and I'm sure you've learned a lot. Tell me a little bit about that. Tell me about Senator Cousins. I've never met her. Maybe once, maybe said hi, but she seems like a very sweet, lovely lady. So tell me a little bit about what it was like working along Senator Cousins.
So it's interesting, right? You talk about this is what I do and this is what I know. And so some people look at politicians and they're like, oh, you're a politician. You don't know how to connect. You're not one of us. You don't have our problems. And I would say that is something that I definitely pulled from the senator, right? So making sure that you are where the people are. When you go to events, it is not just to show up and say hi. It is so that you are with people, so that you can have conversations with them, so that you can see and talk to them one-on-one. What issues are you dealing with? What challenges are you having? How can I help you move forward and make your life better? And that was, I think that at its crux is the number one thing that I learned from the senator. Being there, being present, and when you have those opportunities to be present, you make sure that you make the most of them.
Yeah, and you've been in the community. Like I said, I go back in the community for a long time, and even though my wife, who quite well, and at this point, she's not originally from Yonkers, but she's been in Yonkers for a long time now, and we both just remember you being out there, fighting and championing for the people. So, and I don't want to make it sound like because lately I've been getting this, you're playing favoritism. You like this guy, you don't like that guy, and I'm trying to remain really as neutral as possible. But I say this, that I've genuinely seen you out there, and you've been champion for the people, Chris. And honestly, I did just learn that you were actually in the city council, and you did that for 6 years now. Right. Tell me a little bit about your time in the city council, and specifically when you mentioned affordable housing and what you did there to bring more affordable housing to the city of Yonkers.
So I spent 6 years, like you said. I got elected in 2011 and started my service in January of 2012. Actually came in with Mayor Mike Spano. We got elected in the same election. Him, myself, Michael Sabatino, and Mike Breen. Mike Breen and Mike Spano are still in office, and me and Sabatino have moved on to our next phases. It was an interesting time because the time was different. The first 2 years, I was in the majority. There were 4 Democrats, but we had the majority leader, Wilson Terrero. I'll say, to put it nicely, we didn't see eye to eye on everything. And so there were a lot of challenges in how we move forward as a full council, especially as Democrats. You want to try and be on the same page and kind of move the same vision forward. But we had our moments where that worked, and we had our moments where it was a little bit more difficult. And then in 2013, there was some changes on the council. We got a new council president because Chuck Lesnick was term limited. And that's when Liam McLaughlin, a Republican, came in, which flipped the majority. But Wilson Terrero also lost to Corazon Pineda Isaac. So whereas I was no longer in the majority, I had a less contentious caucus, let's say. Shout out to the now majority leader of the city council, Corazon Pineda, who I had the opportunity to work with for 4 years, and it was a great time. So I tell you, one of the things that I really learned is that relationships are important, right? So I got into government, to politics, and I thought, I'm going to have all these ideas, and my constituents are going to come forward, and they're going to tell me their problems, and we're going to try and solve them. And it's going to be great. And then you have one life-changing idea, and you put it on the table, and some of your colleagues go, no. And you're like, why? And it's like, because we don't like you. And so you realize that you have to go deeper than that, and that it's not just the ideas that's going to make it happen for you, that you actually have to create relationships with your colleagues. And so I've, that was, talk about things that I've learned, right, in each step. What I learned from Senator, what I learned from being on the city council, is that, relationships are important. I have one specific example. There was a piece of legislation tax exemption for veterans, which we all support. Shout out to those who have spent time in the service. Thank you for giving of yourself. And those who have passed on, we just celebrated Memorial Day. Thank you for your service and giving the greatest sacrifice to you and your families. But there was a tax exemption that would cost taxpayers, I think it was $4 million if everyone that was eligible got in on day one. And it took 10 days to get that through because the council president was the sponsor of that. And fast forward, I introduced SCREE and DREE, which is a senior citizen rent increase exemption, and the disabled rent increase exemption for low-income individuals in specific housing. And that would have cost taxpayers $250,000 if everybody that was eligible got in on day one. It took 6 months because my colleagues didn't want me to find success. And so I took that, and now at the county level, I learned right away, make sure that you have relationships with your colleagues. It's easier when they're genuine, and I can say that for the most part, I have a good group of men and women that I serve with up in the county, and so it makes it easy. And they've actually chosen me to be them in leadership. I'm the majority whip at the Board of Legislators, and so it shows that they trust me, and it shows that those relationships are genuine and that they're actually there. And so it makes it easier for me to get things done for Yonkers. But you asked about the affordable housing ordinance. And so I was the main sponsor of that legislation when I was on the city council. And as I said, when it was first introduced, the whole time we were in the majority, but when it was first introduced, the majority leader, as I mentioned, wasn't all there. And he unfortunately he didn't get on board until after he lost his election, and we passed it in that time frame before the new council came in. And part of the urgency there was one of the incoming council members didn't support 10%. They actually wanted 5%. Wow. And we said, if we're going to get something, we want the 10. We'll take the 10. No more negotiating. Let's get it on the table and let's make it happen. And so we got the 10%. Which I'm so glad that the council members now are considering the 20%, because that is more attuned to what is needed in this city, making sure that these properties, have real affordable housing in them.
I agree. I definitely agree. And that's something that I recently put a podcast out, just talking about the AHO, right? Because I'm learning the terms, and AMI, right? And so going to the affordable housing, and I want to bring up the AMI, right? And the AMI is the area medium income, right? And that's what determines basically a lot of how Yonkers gets funding, right? They use the Westchester County AMI. And you mentioned that the council people currently are fighting to increase the affordable housing ordinance from 10, where it's currently at, where you guys got it to. Wow, and they wanted it at 5%. Imagine that. Imagine had they gotten that. So we appreciate you, because we would have been starting at 5 now in this argument instead of 10 where we at today. But they want to get it to 20. But another argument is, and I agree, and some people say it should be at 30. But another argument is using the Westchester County AMI versus the Yonkers Yonkers AMI. And what is your take on that? From what I've read and I'm learning, I would think that using a Yonkers AMI would be more practical, it would actually reflect more of the people of Yonkers. What do you say about that, Chris?
So here's the interesting part about this is, first AMI, you got to go with AMI, right? Area median income. That means the person in the middle. One of those math things when it was median, mean, and average, and you're like, what's going on here? So median is the number in the middle. That means half of the people that have housing in Westchester make more and half make less. This is the number in the middle. And my take on it, though, is that we should use the Westchester AMI. Why? Because no matter which AMI you use, you're looking at people who make X amount of dollars, right? So say we're trying to build housing for people who make $50,000. If the Westchester AMI is $100,000, then you just say 50% of $100,000. If the Yonkers AMI is $50,000, then you just say 100% of $50,000, and you get the same number. The reason why I say use the Westchester instead of using the Yonkers number is the federal government every year comes out with the numbers. And so you don't have to do any work. You don't have to find trust in anyone. You don't have to question whether the numbers are right. You don't have to fight and scream and say, no, wait, you didn't count these people, or what about this housing? The numbers already exist because the federal government does it every single year. Let's say you get a mayor and a planning department in the city of Yonkers that is not supportive of the ordinance, right? You get a developer as the mayor, or a developer's sibling or something like that, and they want the AMI to stay high. Well, maybe they don't do the study annually, and so the numbers stay up. Or maybe they make up numbers, or whatever it may be. If you do it at the Westchester level, you're using the federal government's information and no one's asking any questions. What you can do is change the percentage, right? As I said, use 50% of the county AMI instead of using 100% of the Yonkers AMI, and you get the same numbers. And that's, it's tough because you get deep into math and all of that stuff, and it's not the everyday conversation that people have, right?
Right.
But it's important to understand the politics and where politics can play a part. And when we talk about people in their housing, when we talk about people having the opportunity and the ability to live in a decent, clean, affordable space, we shouldn't play politics with that.
Absolutely, I agree. Right, and that's a basic need, right? Like healthcare, it's a basic need. And I just want to go also and talk about some of the requirements, right? Because we can. I was actually in the park yesterday with my son. I took him out there, and while I was there, I was talking to a mom who lives in the building right across from Serrato Park there, and she's been there for 12 years. And she says to me, we got into the conversation of affordable housing, and she says to me, I've been trying to get out of the building for 12 years, but the problem is I can't find somewhere that one, I could afford, two, will accept my credit score, right, and three, where I also meet the income requirement. So here I am, and and by the way, I want to touch back on that AMI stuff because you did teach me something new there. But she brought up to me something that I never thought of before, and that was the credit score requirement and the income requirement, right? So if you bring up the percentage in the HAO from 10 to 20%, and so now we're including more affordable housing, or they're building more affordable housing, are they just using a credit requirement or an income requirement as another means to limit certain people from entering, affordable housing? So for instance, in this situation with this mom, she's wanting to get out of the building, but she seems to be trapped.
Right. No, unfortunately, they use a lot of different tactics, credit scores being one of them. And you know what? Actually, I'm going to take a note and see, because I know there are some places that have laws that say that is illegal. And if someone can show that they have a history of paying their overhead, then that should be acceptable. And I'm going to look into legislation in some other places and see if that would work.
Great. Absolutely, that would be great.
Because it is a barrier for a lot of people.
Yeah, she was telling me that the requirement was in the mid 600s, and I guess she didn't meet that. And I don't know all the details. What you need to meet. As far as if you're going into affordable housing, and then that the income limit. And I don't know, maybe she was exaggerating, but she said it was up to $80,000. They require you to make at least 80,000. Is that something that may be common in affordable housing, that they require the person?
So that's the AMI question right there, right? What number, what income level does an individual have to meet? And so normally, I think the current ordinance starts at about 40% of the Westchester County AMI. Now, for a family of four, it's just the basic number that I always remember. So for a family of four, the Westchester AMI right now is $127,000. That means half of the households in Westchester make less than $127,000, and half make more. Obviously, in Yonkers, the average number is significantly lower than that.
Yeah.
So if The ordinance right now is at about 40% for a family of 4. That means $50,000 is the lowest amount that they would accept from a family to allow them to rent there. And I believe the ordinance goes up to 100%. So, or it might go up to 80%. So 80% would be $100,000, right? So they're looking for families that make between $50,000 and $100,000, families of 4. And so the difficulty in language, right, especially when we're talking about housing, is we talk about affordable housing. We're not talking about low-income housing.
Okay.
And we need to talk about low-income housing as well. Right? There needs to be all 3 things need to happen at the same time: low-income, affordable housing, and market rate housing. All 3 of those need to go at the same time. Now, developers want market rate, right?
Sure.
Because they want to make all the money.
Sure.
Generally speaking, in the history of this nation, the federal government has done a lot of the low-income housing piece. And then that's where we get into the state and local governments messing around in the middle with the affordable stuff. But the federal government has stopped really building low-income housing. And I had a brief conversation with some of the board leadership and our congressman probably about a week and a half ago about affordable housing and low-income housing and what the federal government can do as we go forward. It wasn't a robust conversation. We were more talking about priorities. But I wanted him to know that as Yonkers moves forward, as Westchester moves forward, we need to pay attention to low-income housing and affordable housing. And don't worry about the market rate. The developers in New York City will take care of that. Just because we're right next to New York City, people want to live here. And developers want to build here. So that will come.
Absolutely, because one of the arguments that they say is, well, if we raise the ordinance, then the developers won't come, right? If they make it too difficult, I guess, for the developers, they won't come. But this is prime real estate, right? It's close to the city. The train lines, the transportation, the public transportation into the city is excellent. They're starting to connect all the river towns together, and eventually you'll probably be able to walk from I was going to say the Tappan Zee because I'm so used to it. Mario Cuomo Bridge all the way down to Manhattan, right? And I think that'd be dope.
Is Battery Park City all the way up to Albany. That's really the idea.
Oh, wow.
In Westchester, we're taking care of our part. So you could walk past the Tappan Zee Bridge and get all the way up to Putnam on the Westchester side. Yonkers, we got to fix a couple of holes that we have right now. We had a press conference about a piece of that the other day. So yeah, at some point you'll be able to walk from the tip of Manhattan all the way at least up to the top of Westchester.
Wow, that's incredible. If it goes all the way up to Albany, right? I mean, that would be a fun, I don't know if a walk, maybe a bike ride, maybe,
I'm not doing that walk.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm doing the walk either. I don't even know if I'm doing the bike ride, right? Although it's like the path over there on the Sawmill. You see it when you're driving by, and my wife and I always look at it like, hey, let's go ride that one day. First, we have to buy bikes. We don't even own bikes, but it's like I've been wanting to do it for like, I don't know, for forever, and I've just never actually done it, right? It just looks cool, especially when you get closer to like White Plains. I think it's Scarsdale. You see the little waterfall thingy stuff there.
My wife has done some walking on it. So at some point, maybe the Vazquez family and the Johnson family get together and we do it.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I'll definitely come along and do it with you guys. I think we would have some great conversations. I always enjoy a good conversation with intellectual people that people have a lot to offer. But it'd be dope. I mean, I think that would be great also for the city, right? Because I'm not against the developments. I don't want to, sound like I'm totally negative against the developments. I think that improving the city is a great thing, right? I think it provides opportunities even for the long-term residents, not just in housing or new housing opportunities, but in career opportunities, right? In job opportunities, in networking opportunities, right? You're meeting new people that are coming from different places. You never know who you can connect with and build with, and something magical can happen. So I'm not against it. I just want to make sure, like you mentioned, that the people that need the affordable housing, but also low-income housing, right? Are also paid attention to, right, and are giving the proper respect. And from what I hear, and I don't know if this is rumors or not, there may be also some stuff going up along the Ashburton street thing there. Are they going to be bringing more low affordable housing, or do you know of any plans, or are you specifically working on any plans or projects that will be including new low income housing?
So we just voted to give West Hab some money to build across from 77 Locust Hill. There's an empty church that's been kind of abandoned for a long time, and so they've acquired that property, and the county has given them several million dollars to put into that to make sure that that can become affordable housing. We've also given $5 million to a project on Ravine and Point Street down by the water. And so that's going to be affordable housing as well, mostly for seniors, but everybody has an opportunity to apply to get into that. And so we look for, as many opportunities as possible to make sure that we're providing affordable housing opportunities for as many families in Westchester as possible. And, I've had this conversation with a few people. The mayor will say, well, why Yonkers? And I think part of it is people are comfortable here. People from here want to move and stay here. I want to move into better housing here in the city that they know and love. And so you see Yonkers growing in that way. But there's also work that needs to be done throughout the rest of the county. And some of the municipalities throughout the rest of Westchester haven't been doing their part. Greenburgh was sued by the federal government recently, as well as the town of Eastchester, which is right next door to us, because they haven't done their part with regard to affordable housing. We've had some issues in Harrison, with the amount of affordable housing that they've provided to residents. And so we just need to be thankful that we live in a city that really respects working people, that says if you get up every morning and you want to go to work, there is a place for you here. And we need to work on those other communities and make sure that they know that the people that work in their mom and pop shops, the people that work in the companies that they work in, but aren't the managers and the CEOs, but the secretaries and the janitors, that they deserve a good place to live too.
Absolutely. And it's sad that you mentioned some of these towns like Eastchester and Harrison. And I'm familiar with those towns. I have friends in those towns, and it's tough. It's tough even for people who have a decent income to get into those towns, let alone affordable housing. But I can understand why maybe some of those towns may resist it, and they resist it hard. But again, like you said, Yonkers, we are a place that welcomes, hardworking people. And it is a place that I grew up in. I had a lot of opportunities, and as well as, gone out and had other opportunities, and I'm back, and I want to help provide whatever opportunities, a little bit that I can, to other people in Yonkers that are growing up in the same community that I came from and I grew up in. So I'm here to help, and this is why I'm doing what I'm doing, and I appreciate what you're doing. Mr. Johnson, you've done a great job so far. I will admit you have. And I just want, for the people who may not know, just give me a overview of the districts or the areas that your district covers.
It's actually a good thing. So District 16. So Westchester is cut into 17 different districts. Yonkers has parts of 4 different districts. 2 of which are completely within Yonkers, District 17 and the district I represent, District 16. So District 16, if you start in Getty Square, a little bit south, Vark Street, we have the buildings on Riverdale, but it goes all the way from, say, the square to the Hastings border of Warburton and up North Broadway, basically, and then cut across Tuckahoe Road and Palmer. Almost everything between Tuckahoe Road and Palmer Road, all the way to Central Ave. And then I go from Palmer Road on Central Ave all the way up to Pepe's Pizza, basically. And I have all of that. So it's about a third of the city of Yonkers. I used to have just most of the west side. Now I go east. So I got Runyon Heights, and I got, Sater Lane and all those individuals over there on Central Avenue. So got a little bit more to cover. But it's been a pleasure and an honor, really, to be their representative.
Absolutely. And as you're listing all those places, what I started to think is how diverse they are. They're very diverse, right? So if you mentioned Sador Lane, Pepe Pizza over there, Tuckahoe, and then you mentioned Getty Square, right?
Right.
And Getty Square, I think it's been, and I love going around and talking to the people, right? I'm doing it like I'm a politician, right? I'm like, and no way do I want, anyone's job as a politician. I commend you guys for that. You definitely have to have thick skin and a lot of willpower. But I talk to people. I go around, and I'm just a talker. My wife says I talk a lot, and just one of the You're right, and that's why I think I do one. I think a lot of people have said, "Oh man, you're really a natural," and maybe it's just because I like to talk. Right? When you're a talker, you're just a natural at radio. But and I have friends that are also business owners in the Getty Square area, and one of the their complaints has been the condition that the Getty Square area has been in. And I know it's not just a county issue, right? And it's a bigger, probably a more of a city issue. But has anyone reached out to you, or have people been reaching out to you, seeing as that's part of your area? And if so, what are you saying to them?
So it's a mixed bag, right? So when I was on the council, we redid sidewalks and we, made sure the streets were paved. That's a city thing. Making sure that we get good, strong businesses in there that can survive, that landlords are doing the right thing with their properties. Those are city issues, using the building department, making sure that they go in, making sure that as properties become available, that you're scouting for good, responsible businesses to come in and kind of use that property. Those are city things. How the buses traverse through the square, that's a county thing. We had obviously at one point the city was redoing the sidewalk and moved the bus stop from the heart of the square up a block, and that caused a lot of issues with how people moved on the sidewalk because the sidewalk was much slimmer. And then we had a fight with the city to put it back, but eventually we got the bus stop back with the new shelter and all the things all the bells and whistles. So it's important that's one aspect of what I can do and what I've been doing in the square. Another one, which I'm sure your friends who are business owners have discussed, are individuals who are homeless, who
Yes.
spend a lot of their time in the square. And so that is a county issue where most of the work is done at the county level. And so that's one of the reasons why I actually ran for county legislature, because I saw that there was work that needed to be done. And so the sharing community unfortunately closed its doors and closed the location about 6 months after I took office. And so the YWCA had to take over the men's drop-in contract from the county. And so since then, there's a temporary site at 68 Palisade Avenue for any male that does not have a place to sleep. They can go there and spend one night, no questions asked. All they got to do is sign in, and they have a place to sleep. Women go to the YWCA. That situation has remained constant. And hopefully this summer we'll see a permanent site on St. Kashmir open for the men to drop into. Another thing that we did soon after I took office was we saw that a lot of individuals would be at the library or at the train station early in the morning because they were kicked out of the drop-in at about 5 or 5:30 in the morning. So what we did in my conversations with the county exec's office, we made sure that the drop-ins are open all day. So
Good.
you're waking up in the morning, but you don't have to leave. You leave when you go to work. You leave when you go search for a job. You leave to go find a place, and a new place will hopefully provide opportunities to shower and for people to find hygienic, positive hygiene practices. And so that's when you leave, when you're ready for those things. So now when people are going to work and they take the train or going to the library, they're not stepping over tired individuals who are woken up in the middle of the night and are trying to finish their sleep inside a place that isn't in the elements, right? So they're not in the train station, they're not at the library. But we still have a lot of work to do. We just replaced Mr. Lamont Brown, who retired in August. We gave a package for people who had a lot of time in the county. If they wanted to retire, we gave an incentive and he took it. We just hired his replacement. And so hopefully, I forget the woman's name, but she'll create a relationship with the Yonkers Police Department and start creating a relationship with individuals who are homeless in the square. Hopefully they'll build trust, and she can express to them that the county has a lot of things to offer them, whether it be mental health services, whether it be access to Medicaid and Medicare, so that they can pay for a place to live, so that they can get the health care that they need to make sure that they're mentally sufficient and can survive on their own. We want to make sure that we're providing those things for people, but we also have to understand as individuals who are not in those circumstances, we have to remember that those people are humans too, and they have the right to make their own decisions. And it's unfortunate that the decisions that they've made up to this point some of them made the decision to stay out on the streets. But what we have to do as a government is convince them that the right thing to do is for them to trust us, let them have a place to stay, and hopefully they'll move through our system into permanent housing.
Yeah, you made a point that you can do so much, and they have to make the decision also to seek the help that's being provided. And I think a lot of that probably has to do maybe with some mental health issues that the person may be suffering, which may prevent them from being able to to understand the help that's there. And I definitely appreciate what you guys are doing, and I think that people definitely want to see that addressed. That's one of the big common repeated issues that I see coming up among people is the homelessness and the mental health issues here in the city of Yonkers. And it definitely is, it's a team effort. It's a city and Westchester County thing, I think. And I think it really is. It really is a team effort. And again, and then people, who are in politics will go back to funding. And then, it seems like, sometimes the buck is being passed around. But you're not someone that I would say likes to keep the buck passing around, right?
No, we gotta come down to, we have to figure out what the solutions are.
Absolutely. And you've helped my family personally find some solutions when we've gone through some of our own battles and struggles, right? Because it happens to the best of us, I should say. I'm sorry, 1 second, I lost the.
Is my internet acting up?
No, it's my wife's laptop that's acting up. It's she has everything, all these reminders that come in all the time, right? So I have to make sure I shut off all that stuff. And if I don't, I'm just gonna get, she's got to do this, she's got to do that, she's got to do another thing. My wife is super busy, but and one of the things that she has taken on recently, and with your help. Right. And this is what I say, and I mentioned this before in post. A lot of people say that they're going to do things and then you won't receive a return email. Right. But then there are actually some people that will return your email. Right. And we've gotten a return email from County Legislator Christopher Johnson's office. Right. And from there, that kind of snowballed. And we appreciate, I want to first say thank you so much. We appreciate everything you've done for us and from my wife and helping us. And that's what I mean by saying the buck stops here, because we reached out to a lot of people, right? And let me just give a brief background for people who may not know. I don't know. It was an issue with the CPS, right? It was a personal matter between me and some family members that just kind of got out of hand. And it resulted in some CPS reports being filed. And we did our homework and we did some research and we saw that there was a need. Right in Westchester. So when we found that there was that need for the county and for the people of Yonkers, and as well as the county, we've reached out to a lot of politicians, and we constantly reached out. And I was reaching, I'll be honest, to mostly city politicians at first. Right, that's who I kind of directly felt I needed to connect with. But you responded when I reached out to the county on the county side. You responded, your office reached out to us, and you're a busy man. It didn't happen right away, but it happened. And that's what's important, that it happened. And I want to say I appreciate what you did, and you went all out, and you're still working with my wife, right? And what you have been working on my wife is to create a citizens review panel here in Westchester County, that people can access, people in Yonkers, families who may have some, issues or some concerns or some complaints they may want to express on CPS, that they can go to easily access and voice those concerns, right? Whereas before they would have had to go all the way up to, I believe, Syracuse or maybe further, I'm not sure. But, that's not always possible. So you're working on making this committee happen, and I appreciate that. But so tell me a little bit about that committee that you and my wife have been working on.
So first, I want to just say I think you did the right thing, right? You reach out to everybody. You never know who's going to get back to you. I pride myself in my office in trying to be as responsive as we can, especially when it's a county issue. In this case, it was a county issue. But if it's a city issue, We will walk you to the person who should handle it. If it's a state issue, we'll do the same. If it's a federal issue, we want to make sure that we are doing our best to help whoever we can. I know someone in the Bronx reached out to my office, and we did some work, and then we reached out to their representative in the Bronx and said, hey, this is what we've done so far, and it's up to you guys to carry it forward. But with regards to this situation, I think it was important because what you and your wife identified was the fact that with regard to this citizens review panel that does already exist, that kind of oversees the Department of Social Services, that there were 3 panels in all of New York State. And that one panel is located in New York City, overseeing the 5 boroughs in New York City. One panel is the Western panel that has 17 counties in it. And the other panel is the Eastern panel, which has 40 counties in New York State, all within the same region. And so, as you said, if there was an issue that came up in Yonkers or, God forbid, in Long Island, right, that they would have to take their complaints so far north that it was just difficult to have that conversation and for those individuals to be heard. So had a conversation with our Department of Social Services, who said, you know what, it's absolutely possible to have subcommittees, because New York City, they have one panel for the 5 boroughs, but each borough has their own sub-panel. And so since we have 40 counties, maybe we should have a subcommittee for the Lower Hudson Valley. So my colleagues listened to the Department of Social Services. Your wife came in, did a presentation that was extremely convincing. If the numbers don't make sense alone, you put her passion and her conversation behind it, and it really did push it to the next level. My colleagues agreed, and we sent a resolution up to the state of New York asking for them to create subcommittees in the civilian review panel for one for the Hudson Valley, and they can create additional ones if they so desire. So they saw that. The Citizens Review Panel saw our resolution, and they reached out to my office, and they asked for me to explain why we felt this was a need, and I walked them through it. Nobody wants to feel like they're doing a bad job, so I had to make sure and assure them that the work that they do as professionals is adequate. It's just that I don't expect 7, I believe, or 13 individuals to oversee 40 counties.
Right.
It's just not possible to take in the information that they have to take in, disseminate it, and hear from parents and families who have concerns with the local departments of social services. So they agreed to have a deeper, more robust conversation. Our local representative is extremely supportive, and I told her that your wife would be in contact. And our next step is to make sure that our state legislators hear this call and that they actually pass the legislation to allow for the citizens review panels to be taken. So there's a few steps that's still left to go,
right?
But we've come this far together, so there's no reason to let go now.
Right. And I appreciate that. And that just shows a lot, right? And although you said there are still a few steps left, the fact that we got to this step and that you helped us get here and that you did a lot of the work also. My wife did a lot of the work, and that you were just great in that way. It just says a lot to me. To me, it says a lot. And I think it should say a lot to a lot of people, And
I appreciate that. I think one of the things that made me nervous when I first ran for office, because, people say politicians make all these promises, right? But what made me nervous was I knew I would be representing people and coming up with the ideas that are going to make people's lives better. But as you do this work and you are going back to what I said at the beginning, right? As long as you're with people, you're meeting them where they're at, and you're accessible, people come up with the ideas. And then it's your job to shepherd the ideas forward. And so I pride myself on being an open book. If you are listening to this, tonight or any other time, and you have an idea that you think should be a law or government could help, please reach out to my office and we will see what we can do. No guarantee that it's going to get done, but we will definitely take a listen. We'll look into it. We'll do some research. And if it's something that we can do, we'll help move it forward.
And I just wanted to bring up something there from my wife, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that comment. So you hear that? Hey, Christopher, County Legislator Christopher Johnson is telling everyone who watches this, who's listening now, or who may be watching later, if you have concerns, if you have questions, comments, call the office. He does respond. And I will tell you, I am a testament to that. My family is a testament. We will tell you that his office will respond and they will get in contact with you. They will try to help you out. And if they can work with you and if they can make it happen, they will. And I vouch for that 1000%. And my wife says, thank you. She says, thank you, Legislator Johnson, for hearing the needs of the community and my family. And that's what we wanted. That's kind of what we wanted the most, just for someone to hear us and not to send the Yonkers voice after us. Although that's funny because he actually was the one that helped us create some noise. So I'm sorry for everyone that I tagged. I wasn't trying to harass you. I really wasn't. I really just needed some help. I mean, we were going through a traumatic thing, and I didn't know what was, what to do. And the last thing I wanted to do was lose my own cool and do something that I would regret. And that's why I was just going crazy and, tagging everybody. And I appreciate you helping. And I appreciate you extending that offer to other people, not just your constituents, but anyone in the county and city of Yonkers in the county. Reach out to your office and you will try to help. And he does.
Absolutely.
The legislator Johnson actually does help. He is proof. I'm proof. My wife is proof. And what we've done is proof. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And I wanted to make that a point because I think that's important. Like you said, that's what politics is all about. You were concerned that, will you be able to help when people came to ask you? Will you be able to follow through? And it's not easy because it's about relationships. Like you mentioned earlier, you have to build relationships in order to move things forward because there are many minds, there are many personalities, there's many agendas, right? And that's something that's kind of going on in the city council now, and a lot of things is going on that the fighting, and I hope they can work that out because at the end of the day, it's the people that live in the city that ultimately suffer from when people are not getting along. And I appreciate you learning from Senator Cousins and taking everything in life, I believe, right? It's a learning experience, and you're taking these experiences and you're understanding what it takes to get the job done. And you're getting the job done.
And honestly, I appreciate basement politics because
thank you.
Because you're being honest about where you are in the conversation, that you're learning, that you're willing to ask questions and learn more. And so I think that as you learn and grow, your audience will learn and grow as well. And I think that that's important. So that challenge that you just laid out there for all of elected officials, I take it seriously. And so should all of us, that when we get into office, if we don't do our jobs well, there are people that suffer.
Absolutely.
And so just because I don't like you doesn't mean I shouldn't work with you. Because work with you, there will be people that suffer. And so it's incumbent upon me to put my personal issues with you aside and find a way to do what's right for the people that I represent. And so right now is political season, and you'll see, especially in the next 10 days, there's a lot of heat and people will be pushing and pulling. Hopefully it won't be too negative, but there's a tension that's naturally in the air. But on June 23rd, and I hope that you get out there and vote for me on June 22nd. But on June 23rd, you'll see a sigh of relief, especially from all the winners. And those who have to go on in November, you'll see kind of the same kind of momentum in November. And then you'll see another sigh of relief. But then in January, when everybody's in their seats, when everybody's got a title, they know what their position is, they know what their job is. Now we got to work together.
Yes.
If I don't like you, but I agree with you, let's talk about what we agree on and let's move those things forward. If we don't agree on something, well, you know what? Let's have one tough conversation about that thing. I don't have to hang out with you. We don't got to go to the movies together, but we do need to sit around the table and find solutions to solve people's problems.
Absolutely. And one thing I want to ask you before I go, not before I go, because I have to ask this question. I want you to just kind of lay it out for us. But this one question, because I think it's important, especially in the district that you represent. Talk to me about the seniors. the seniors are an important population, right? And sometimes, and I'm getting this from certain people that the seniors are often ignored. And actually, I've even been hearing rumors of some seniors in certain areas being targets because of political issues. But not to get into that, but I just want to bring about how important the seniors are, and I want to make sure that we focus on the seniors. Christopher Johnson, Legislator Christopher Johnson, please tell me, what is it that you have done, are doing, and are looking to do for the senior population, specifically in your district, but here in the city of Yonkers and
So
county, on the
the
county level?
most recent thing that we did, we made sure that some funding that was available for Yonkers to purchase new vans to transport seniors, that money is made available. We just voted on that last week. I talked about some affordable housing. Our hope is that the housing that's going to be built on Ravine Avenue, that is mostly that a lot of seniors apply to that and kind of get a special opportunity to get into that. Obviously, because of where they got their financing, they have to open it to everybody, but we really hope that seniors take advantage of that. And then we continue. We have an office of seniors at the county, and so we continue to offer programming. We continue to make sure that seniors have access to Medicare, as we're one of the funding streams that come down, where the funding comes down from the federal government. And so we want to make sure that we take care of all of our individuals from the youngest to the oldest, and that as you age, you can age in place. It's really important, right? We talk about one of my least favorite topics is taxes. But we want to make sure that if it is your choice, that you can age in place, that if you feel like you've lived in this house for your entire life or for a long time and you want to stay there, that you have the ability to do that. Not just financially though, but that it also makes sense for you with regard to transportation, that you can take the bus or the train wherever you want to take it, that there is a grocery store that's near you, that there's a senior center where you can get to activities and be communal, that those opportunities are available to you. And so we're doing whatever we can to make sure that that's the case for as many members of our population as possible. And for those that want to move into more congregate housing, then please do sell that house, make that money, because the housing market is right now. It is waiting for you somebody's waiting to purchase your home. So if you want to downsize, we want to make sure that those opportunities are available for you as well.
Absolutely. So you hear that? If you're looking to downsize, do it now. Because some experts are predicting that we're heading for a crash. So get it in while it's hot. Otherwise, you might get stuck not being able to sell it. But I appreciate what you've said on the seniors, and and that's something I want to also bring up more. I don't think I've done it so much in past episodes with other candidates, but you're also in there already. You're also been doing stuff on the city level, and you started out from college. You went to working with Senator Cousins to the city level. Now you're at the county level. Is there ever going to be a time where maybe you move on up to the state level? Maybe even the federal level? President Johnson?
All those jobs are taken.
President Johnson. Well, not now, right? You still got a lot. You still got a lot of work to do here in Westchester, obviously. But and it's nothing wrong. I think with wanting to progress. I only see it that it's wrong when you haven't even finished your first term and you're ready to progress to the next level. That's when I think it's an issue. But when you've been in your seat for a while and you've done some work and then you're ready to move up, I can respect that, because you have to go to the next level to get more done. So I think it's a fair question. I don't think it's something that would be wrong if that was something you were interested in doing, because I know you can get a lot more done that way.
So I'll say two things to that. One, when we talked earlier about my experience, and I've done politics my entire professional life. But I also had the opportunity to be a guidance counselor in the Yonkers High School. I have my master's in school counseling.
Oh, right. Wow.
It is really, it's something that it's actually one of the reasons I appreciated having a conversation with your wife, because I know she's an educator, she's in the school, and so I could connect with her on that level, and it really is something that's near and dear and special to my heart, and I hope I get the opportunity to get back into a school soon. But with that said, I did get my start in government at the state level, and so having an opportunity to serve in state government would be awesome. I had a voter tell me yesterday, because early voting started yesterday. Everybody,
Yep.
A voter told me yesterday that I should run for a state office, and she told me which office I should run for. I won't repeat it though. And I told her it's not yet my time, but like you said, when the time comes, if there are people like her that see that opportunity should exist for me, and I feel like it's the right time for myself and my family, then I would seek the opportunity.
And I hope you do. I hope you do. But like I said, and like you said, you still have some work to do here in Yonkers. So you have a race to win, right? And on June 22nd, the primary, when folks go out to vote and they vote Christopher Johnson, and you're in there, and you are the county legislator, once again for District 16, tell me, what are you going to do once you get back in there? Like you said, the race is over. You know, everyone can relax now. You're in the seat. You have the title. What are you going to do?
So I think it is important for people to make this choice and take this vote based on what they believe I'm going to do in another term. And I think for them to make that decision, they need not look further than what I've already done and the work that's already been accomplished. We passed the earned sick leave bill before COVID that said that if you have a job in Westchester County and there's more than 5 employees, that you can earn your sick time. And so if you're sick, you don't have to make a decision whether or not you go to work so you can get a paycheck or stay home and take care of your family but not get paid. Now you can stay home, take care of your family, recuperate yourself, and still get paid because now you have sick time. And we can see now, obviously, during COVID, how important it is for individuals to not go to work sick. We passed a wage history anti-discrimination bill, which says that when you go on a job interview, they can't ask you what your last salary was. Because if you've been outside of the workforce for 10 years because you were incarcerated or because you had a sick family member or because you had a child and you stayed home to raise them, well, what you made 10 years ago is nothing compared to what you're worth today. So that employer shouldn't ask you. They should pay you based on what they believe you're worth. We passed a ban the box, which means that when you fill out a job application in Westchester County, the question that asks you if you've ever been convicted of a felony is no longer on your job application. So now we're expecting thousands of individuals who have served their time and paid their debt to society to now get job interviews and hopefully get into the workforce. We have increased the amount of money that goes into childcare, making sure that low-income families don't have to pay as much to make sure that their children have a safe, adequate place to go and learn during the day so that they can find work, so that they can get an education, so that they can build their lives. We already talked about affordable housing and the millions of dollars that Westchester County has poured into District 16 for affordable housing. I put $5 million into the budget for body cameras for police departments throughout Westchester County and to store the data. And that's stuff that affects all of Westchester County. But right here, we put money into local nonprofits, from the African American Heritage Committee to the Nebrand Community Center to YCAP to Yonkers Bulls basketball program to a local football team. And so we're trying to make sure that we're building all of the community, whether that be through legislation, whether that be through direct funding to some organizations like Yonkers Arts, or whether that be through making sure that there's funding in the budget so that everyone can benefit and we can move forward together as a community. So it is my hope that all of those things prove to every single voter that in January of 2022, should you reelect Christopher Johnson to represent District 16, that I'll continue that type of work in another term, that you'll continue to see Westchester County benefit, that you'll continue to see Yonkers benefit, you'll continue to see District 16 benefit from my representation as your county legislator. And so I hope that you cast your vote for me. When you go and you see your ballot, I am 4A. So when you go, you grab your ballot, you go right to 4A, you circle that bubble, and you vote for Chris Johnson. As I said, early voting started yesterday and goes through next Sunday. And then we take a break on Monday. And if you didn't vote early, then on Tuesday, June 22nd, you go to your local poll site and you cast your vote for Chris Johnson for county legislature.
There you have it, folk. Westchester County Legislator Christopher Johnson, representing District 16, doing a great job. He's doing a good job, and I appreciate all you've done. Thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate you taking the time because I know it's crunch time, as they've been telling me. Some of the candidates are hard to get on the phone. Some of them have been leaving me sweating just minutes before we go live, but I appreciate you taking the time out. I appreciate it because you're a busy man. And I'm nobody. I'm just Freddy Vazquez from Basement Politics. But really quick, one thing before you go, you mentioned this, ban the box. I like that. I like that a lot. And let me tell you why. I do a second chance programs with one of my companies where I hire guys who have felonies, right? And a quick story before I let you go, because one gentleman had to check that box, he was actually humiliated in the interview. When the guy asked him what he did, he told him, he said, "This interview is over. Get out of my office. I never want to see you again. I would never hire you." And the guy was like, what happened? Why? He goes, "I was the victim of a crime, just, the same crime that you committed." And this man was only trying to get a second chance. And he was already sorry. He felt like crap. And he walked out of there with his head down, his tail between his legs. But I was able to give him a job, and he's doing better. So I appreciate you passing that. Christopher Johnson, Westchester County Legislator for District 16. Make sure you vote on June 22nd, primaries. Thank you again. You have a great night, and wish your family well. I didn't bring up the family, but I want to wish them well. Thank you.
You can see behind me all the stuff that
I did. You're in the nursery there, I see.
There you go.
You
the whole house is the nursery.
Oh, I know how that is. And I'll wait till you're stepping on Legos and stuff. I don't know if you're already doing that, but that does hurt a lot. So be careful with that. They'll be all over the place. Again, thank you, County Legislator Christopher Johnson, representing District 16. Thank you so much. Have a great night. I appreciate everything. Take care.
Thank you, Basement Politics.
Good luck. Thank you. Bye-bye. And there you have it, folks. That was Westchester County Legislator Christopher Johnson running for re-election for District 16. Look, my opinion, the guy means what he says. He says what he means. I've seen him in action when others have let me down. But others are coming around. So I appreciate all those politicians and the candidates that have joined me on Basement Politics. And I look forward to Thursday, June 17th, this coming Thursday, where Jose Ramon may be joining me. I believe so. He's agreed to it. We have to confirm it. But he will be joining me on Basement Politics. Who is Jose Ramon? That's the same thing I said. But he's out there, and he wants to represent District 2. He wants to represent the Nodine Hill, Park Hill area. Nodine Hill, as you know, had a shooting a few days ago. 4 individuals were shot. Maybe it's time we have someone new representing that district. Hey, something has to change, right? Can't have the same. Well, it's up to you guys. It's not up to me. I just point out the obvious. You guys make the decisions. Well, thank you for joining me again. I'm Freddy Vazquez, and this is Basement Politics. Don't forget, June 20th, join me live. Yonkers City Council President Mike Cater joins me. We got a lot to talk about there. And you don't want to miss that. Because if you're a dad and you live in Westchester, you will qualify for the ultimate Lambo Dad experience. You don't want to miss that. All you have to do is watch. Follow directions. The directions, you can find them on the page, Basement Politics. If you follow the directions, you watch on June 20th. Happy Father's Day. You're going to win an ultimate Lamborghini Dad experience with Freddy Vazquez from Basement Politics. Good night, Yonkers. Good night, Westchester.
watching Basement Politics with my dad, Freddy Vazquez.